And the curb lines as they come through are some of the oldest curb lines in the village. And they need to raise the curbs because they've sunk. So as they come through this, one of the options they brought to our attention that they'd like us to consider. Now, mind you, would be in their right of way, so they have the option to do it either way, but they're looking for our support, would put inlet parking in their right of way along Village Green. On Fox River, Des Plaines, and Ottawa. From Jen and I's perspective, we see Fox River and Des Plaines as reasonable options. We're a little bit concerned with Ottawa. Larry, we did look into, the Sycamore does sit right about here. Oh, no, I'm sorry, over here. Yeah. So the Sycamore is there and it'd be very close, so that's one of the reasons we would have a stand. We have a Sycamore there that was donated to us after the tornado came through. So, and it sits right here almost in the right of way, or a portion of it is in the right of way. So that would be one of the drawbacks to doing inlet parking here. But as they go through this, if we support this as they're trying to do this process this summer, similar to how they do over here across from Front Street Cantina, how they do the curved inlet, and it comes in about 10, 12 feet?
Probably 10 to 12 feet. Minimum would be like an 8 by 24, but my guess is they're going to want to do more like a 10 by 24.
So we brought this to the capital development to present this, to show them what they're looking at. We want to see what the board's feeling is moving forward, whether we can give the village their support in doing this project. From our anticipation with this, if we don't support it, they're not looking to push the issue and actually just go ahead and build it in the right way regardless. They are looking for our support before they do it, but it would solely be in their right of way, which is anything to the left of that line.
My question is, Sycamore, well, is the village willing to accept relocating it in the same hole?
It's a little big for that.
Yeah.
That's
20-year-old train.
Okay, well,
That was one of the reasons we were gonna.
Our option of building around it.
And that was something we could talk to them. We were gonna see, this isn't set. What they basically did is, you see this little strand of cars right here, they cut it and pasted it on all three angles, just to give an idea of what the cars would look like. There is no set, it has to be this way. The only thing that they were in agreement with, that they figured we would feel is, we didn't want any parking up here near the pavilion just because of the usage, et cetera, people inlet parking there. We don't see it, from Jen and I's perspective, we don't see a big issue over along Fox River. And as long as they're doing parallel parking along Des Plaines, we don't see that as an issue. It is a little hazy down here along Ottawa, just because you have the splash pad right here. So it's like, you have some barrier off to this side, some barrier off to this side, where, obviously you have the playground, but it's a little bit more raised and you have a little bit of distance between the street and the playground. We just felt this is a little close to natural traffic.
What about up north, where we have,
Up here,
actually,
nothing will be there.
nothing.
That was the area, because this is our pavilion.
Parking there.
No, I just said this is our pavilion, so we were and they were in agreement that not to go in.
This morning at the mayor's coffee, they were talking about doing infrastructure. Is that the area that they're talking about doing that? So not only are we talking about parking really, but they're gonna be ripping up stuff to put in new.
I don't know if they're gonna be doing the infrastructure here. It might be more on this side of the street.
Okay.
We don't believe, when we talk to them, right now, they don't have any I'm sorry?
Most likely sewers.
Right, but I don't believe right now there's any major infrastructure on this side of along the park side of the
Okay.
street. What they do need to do if you go out there is they need to do the curbs on both sides. So that's why they're looking at it as they go to do the curbs and then have to do some street repair and infrastructure repair. At this time would be an idealistic time to when they put the new curb in, is to curb it in and then curb it back out. Similar to the islands you have a little bit up here.
They would not be doing any angled.
No, that was one.
That was
What did I
one
just do?
suggestion. You must have
Yeah,
zoomed
I'm
in.
sorry.
Zoomed in. That was
Well,
one of the
that's
suggestions.
a small part of
that
it. If they cut it in at
You
three
gotta hit the button.
three sides, it's gonna be really shrinking at your substantially.
The sidewalk would be right up against it.
There was one concept that showed angled parking, but it was maybe about 5 feet off the edge of the sidewalk.
Right, I'd be concerned, like I mentioned earlier, someone hitting the gas instead of the brake and into the park they go. And I'm okay with the parallel setup, except I'm concerned about the tree. As I'm sure
Well,
most.
why don't we
Can
say,
we fit any spots? I know where the tree, like I used to live across the street, so is there a way that you could put like maybe 2 spots farther down and then kind of leave an
Well,
inlet?
buffer it out.
We can work with them.
They
It's,
should buffer.
Like,
They'd have to get some really good measurements because the tree is pretty much right here where this one car is. It's possible
And
they
then
could
these
do two
trees gotta
spots
be
here
bigger
and
and
then a few
bigger,
spots
so,
this way
yeah.
and keep a bump
Spread
out.
out.
Did they have a goal in mind of how many more parking spots they wanted to
No,
create?
there's not a set goal. One of the things is to alleviate the congestion that happens around there, especially during the summer months. So when our splash pad is full under usage, and especially heavily during the summer months, we have parking on both sides of the street, which makes it very difficult for the two-way traffic at that point. So that's what they're looking to, is alleviate some of that by moving some of the parking inward.
Yeah, it's certainly a problem on Discount Street.
so this wouldn't add any spots of
No.
availability?
It would increase the parking amount any more, because obviously they're just taking it from the curbside and moving the curbside in.
We don't have parking on that side of Ottawa though, currently, to my knowledge.
There isn't,
No.
but cars still do it sometimes, so that's why they're, I take it back. There's
Yeah,
no,
it's called 12.
yeah, here's your spot, I apologize.
That-
This,
yeah.
this would be the only, because this is still parking both sides here, and there's parking on both sides here. So, with consensus, can we continue to work with the village and let them do the inlet, provided it matches what we feel is best interest of the park?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then we'll move forward and we'll work with the village. We will stay away from, one of our biggest focuses as we go through and work this project with the village was to watch the sycamore and make sure we're not doing any angled parking. It needs to stay parallel parking. And those will be the two directives we'll work with on this. No, I've got one more.
The other item is.
Wait, one more. So the other item, really quick, with the village parking, as they're looking at doing some of their amendments, which also falls just off of the village green area, is right now, off of James Street, the village, here's where Electric Park sits, the parking lot at the north end of the park. The village owns these sections of land right here. One of the things they're looking at is to increase some of the traffic flow, is they want to see if we'd be willing to build onto the existing parking lot of Electric and build north to where we're connecting to this parking lot to add more available parking. One of our things though is for this to go this way to benefit the district, we would also like to see some type of pathway that would come out to Lockport as well, so that there's some thorough aspect moving through. So if somebody's parking here, or even somebody walking, they don't have to go all the way down to James Ash, and access by walking through the lot and either along a pathway or like a walkway down to Electric Park, etc. We don't see this as a hindrance connecting onto it, provided that if the board's in agreement with this, we work in IGA mainly on the maintenance and repair of anything that's added. So any addition from this point north would not be our responsibility. That's the biggest thing that we'd have to do it, work with them on. I'm sorry.
Just, like I said, I think I brought this up before, possibly negotiating a deal where they maintain our portion, part of their.
And that, we're gonna bring it up with them. If they're open, but if they're not, we're okay as long as we don't take on any additional fiscal responsibility or workload. And that's the biggest thing we're looking at. We were gonna talk to them about that, and I did put that on my notes, to see about anything as we're moving through it, negotiating for that came out of committee. But our goal, our main goal ultimately would be, is if we were to add on to the lot, we'd wanna then, as long as the board's in agreement, make sure our agreement clearly specifies that we're okay with that, provided we have no responsibility at a certain point. And we think it could be beneficial for allowing more foot traffic coming down, additionally adding more space. Unfortunately, and Heather, you have lived over here, it's kind of a hidden park that not everybody always sees, so it would bring some downtown attraction towards that park area.
Yeah, my house is right on there, but across the street directly from 15101, I was under the understanding they own property farther back towards the river more. What does the village in this, what do they actually own right now?
The village owns these three plots right here.
This,
And that.
anything that has
Yes.
a B on it.
Okay.
In working with this, the owner of
Yeah, that one.
the building here has this, but he's part of the person looking for additional parking, so that's why
Oh, the
they
chiropractor.
would, is that what,
Yeah.
chiropractor, okay, thank you. That's why they're looking to put the pathway in as well. So it'd be like a trade-off, we'll get extra parking that will help the whole downtown area, but we want more visibility, not just to one location, but the entire downtown area, which also then feeds into our park, and if you go right across the river, that feeds into the Electric Park West that we'll eventually have a large trail moving down.
So this essentially would be parking additions for Conklin, for the village, and for us.
Yes.
So would that mean that we would have to upgrade our parking lot to village standard?
Right now, that was what we said, they talked about an extension, that's what Commissioner Steins had brought up at the meeting. If they wanted any addition, upgrades, et cetera, that would be at their cost of liability,
Even on our property?
even on our property. Otherwise, otherwise, as we talked about in our meeting, it would just be basically a saw cut and jointed upward, if that's not the direction we want to go.
So there'd be like a driveway through or something?
They're looking at, you have access through here, through our driveway,
Okay,
and then access through here, because they're looking to connect it to this lot up here.
okay,
So it'd be almost, you'd have a U that would run through.
okay, I see.
It's gonna be probably a benefit for the downtown business, so because of the lack of parking and so forth, so.
Yeah, parking's been a huge concern downtown, and so, I'm glad the village has sought this out to look at as a plan. Looks like
So are
Good
we, I'm
start.
sorry.
no, it looks like a good start.
Are we in consensus that we can move forward trying to work this out, and as long as, once again, it meets the district's needs and interests, we can move forward and then try to work towards an IGA? Okay. Anything else?
Now we're up to
That's
item
that
C,
one.
park dedication.
Craig, you want to the lights, please? Per board directive, I believe back in January, was to investigate the possibility of looking at an alternate park for the naming rights for former executive director Bott. I should say, I met with Greg approximately right around last meeting, so about a month ago, and discussed the potential and what would he be looking for. We discussed possibility of naming rights for the Recreation Administration Center, or was he looking for a specific park, and taking his feelings into consideration. And one of the recommendations, he said if he had his choice of being able to rename a park after himself, would be Redwood Park, for all the time and efforts that he had put into Redwood Park. So that's the information I bring back to the board from my directive. So at this point, it'd be what direction the board would want to take next of pursuing whether we're looking to rename the park, or how we want to handle the situation.
I think you already got a name of a park already for putting his name on it, I'll change. You know, I mean, just seems like,
Well, as I remember, he didn't really have a say in that matter, and
it doesn't matter, it should be honored that he has a name on the park, regardless of whoever it may be. You know, I don't get it.
well, I think that he spent, personally, I think he spent a lot of time working with Renwick Park over his career, and I think that would be a more fitting honor for him to have that park.
Well, the thing is,
named after
the
him.
point is, it's, you know, we gave him the honor of having a name
For a
in
park
this
he didn't
system, in
want.
this park district system. And,
I think that's
it's
hardly an
like
honor.
getting a new park.
It's hardly an honor.
Well, that's his, perspective, he's not happy. That means he wasn't happy what he was doing as a judge director.
This was not his idea, just so you're aware. This did
What was
not
the
come from
courtesy?
him.
So what about the administration center?
I'm sorry.
What about naming the administration center?
That was discussed, and he wasn't interested in that so much as he really feels a connection to
Did he
this.
want a bronze statue
No,
built too?
no, he feels a connection to
Maybe he wants
this,
the Capitol renamed for after him too.
this
Yeah.
park.
You know, he's gonna be a little ridiculous in regards to the manners.
And this was actually not his idea at all. This came from somewhere else. And Carlo talked to him and got his feelings on it. And he said, well, if you're going to do this, this is what I would prefer. And I personally think after all the years he put in, he should have the right to pick which park. And we discussed this, and I know you had said something about there, we could rename the current park after the river park that's near there. I forgot what you had called it.
Oh, I said if we were to investigate this further, instead of going back and now changing what's now Bott Park into River's Edge Park again, we can just connect it into the naming of Riverside Parkway, which is that area on the east and west side of the bank. instead of trying to rename another park. If the board would choose to go further in renaming a park, I don't wanna further convolute the matter by trying then to put another name that used to be on a park back on. So to give an idea of how we would handle what's currently Bennett Park. We would just connect it to the Riverside Parkway. Does that proceed? But I guess the real issue at hand is how you want to proceed. I know there's mixed feelings on the board right now. Well, how we want to proceed is, are we looking to move forward with trying to establish,
I think
maybe,
we should get also the voters involved, and we're gonna get a referendum in regards to how they feel about Doug, selecting a park, his choice of his choosers.
So just so we're clear, this, the Renwood Park would no longer be Renwood Park, is that correct? Okay.
if we were to read,
Do we think on the aspect of, for, our residents, is that gonna be confusing to them? I know Renwood Park's been a key name, a lot of people use reference Renwood Park. Would there be any way to maybe like combine, his name somehow with Renwood Park?
Well, I think it's like Sears Tower, you're always gonna call it Renwood Park.
Okay, okay.
It's
Because
kind of
he
the
wants
same
to buy it
idea.
in a park.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's right.
I see what
Like
you're
Sears
saying.
Tower.
Because it's one of those parks I would just be concerned that people would never grab onto the fact that it would be changed. Yeah, that's exactly.
not to, I agree with Larry on that point because it sounds kind of funny, but even currently River's Edge, I get more people that refer to River's Edge Park as River's Edge than Bond Park. And we have that scenario in most of our stuff. It's not the original name that was on it, so it would always be considered that. In their mind, which if you even look at Mary Park, we renamed Mary Park a year ago, but we still to this day, if you look at our brochure, we're still putting in parentheses Mayfair right now because the transfer still hasn't fully gone through. People still see that as Mayfair, not Mary.
The
I
only thing,
think that we should keep Renwood Park as is right now, so we can look into the future, perhaps, have an institution come up with some sort of money to name the Renwood Park after that. There could be a revenue source. So that's my feeling. Because, if we have like Edwards Hospital coming in, they're not going to go to our administration center. They probably most likely will go to Renwood Park and they say, yes, here, I'll give you $1 million if you name the Renwood Park back to us. And that's my feeling.
Well, like I said, no, he has a name on the park now. I'm shocked that he's not happy with that.
the other thing we can do too is do this as part of our 50-year celebration honoring, how many years did we have there, Wendy? 32 years of the 50 years. It could be all tied into part of our celebration.
Can we name another location other than Renwood Park? Because I think that could be a source of revenue for the park district and customers.
I see where you're saying that, but if a hospital were to sponsor a fitness center or something like that, their name would obviously go on the building, so.
Not necessarily there, the other parks, the name of the institution, and necessarily in the building. Let's say big sports want to put the name on it, Renwood Big Sports.
The Romeo Center that Edward is in.
Presence.
Or Presence.
No, I'm sorry, Edwards. Edwards is the Edwards Expo Center at,
They named the actual facility after.
Right, I understand, but, I believe I saw somewhere that Dick's Sports Store, they name a park after that, there's a source of revenue. And I think we should put that park aside just in case we need, we can use it as a source of revenue for the park district. Why don't we have other choices beside that one?
Did Greg have a second choice?
No.
He didn't really give a full list. That would be my area, and I thought you wanted a full list, I couldn't understand, I just went with a simple.
Well,
I don't have strong feelings about this. Because I never worked with them but I understand he worked here for so long and I feel like we should honor that.
I think a lot of people also worked long years too, and we're not honoring all of them either. I understand it.
No, I believe we should honor him, but, that particular park or the enforcement park, we should set those aside as a source of revenue for the future.
Right now, the staff is just looking for direction, if this should be
Yeah.
pursued. So we've got 3 kind of no's and 2 yeses, and
I'm in favor of it.
you're in favor of it.
I'm not against it.
Do you think we should vote on this in the future?
I think we
I
should
could
leave
put
it
it
up
as
to
an
the
agenda
voters.
item for next month if you guys want to go into.
What about you, asking for a second and third choice?
We could do that.
However you.
And then we'll maybe put this on the agenda for next.
I'm just saying, so why can't we leave it up to the voters and put it on the next draft of referendum? See how they feel about it. They know dog, you know. See how the park district, how they felt about the park district.
I mean, what about the people who do live right over there? Do you think that, I mean, I don't know if any of them also probably have a good connection with the park because they've used it for so long, they bought property by it. Do you think that they would have any input as to it being changed? Like, would this give them, would it impede their experience at all of Renwick Park anymore? Because, or would they even
We
care?
came up with
You
a
know what I mean?
policy.
Oh, we
Does
have-
this say policy?
This would fall under policy, but the board has to decide that's the direction, like, there has to be an alignment, like, we have to decide, it fits within the criteria of the policy.
Okay.
And I guess that's not really the issue, the issue is taking a park that was already dedicated, alleviating the names in there, and then deciding another location. We're still well within the means. As far as your question, Heather, it's kind of hard to say, as some people tie to Renwick, just because of the largeness of it being a community named park, and people, if you play baseball, you've come to know certain parks, or you play softball, because those are the parks where you're located at. As far as there being a tie to it because of the name, I would risk to go on the side of no, there's not, because as we've changed other names or as you look at other parks, most of our parks are named after the subdivision they are, and I don't think people have, like most people as we were going through the master plan, their neighborhood parks in their subdivision, they didn't even know the name of it, and it's named after the subdivision they live in. So I wouldn't go on that factor, I think it just comes down to the board's decision of taking the couple different factors, and I can go out and get the couple other, if there's other alternatives, but looking at all the board perspectives and deciding, do we want to, which direction ultimately the board wants to go.
Well, I mean, really, Village Green, Renwick Park, Four Seasons, Electric Park, all of those are people I think do know the names of those parks. And that's very different from a subdivision named park.
Because they're community parks, they're
Yeah,
destination parks,
yeah,
people need to
yeah.
travel to them. It's not something most people walk to. Eat Reserve falls in that. Van Horn Woods is,
Yeah.
because there is no real connectivity to Van Horn from most of our Klaus Stevens, which already has naming purposes after. But most of our, what we call is our key touch parks, people do have a name recognition to them more than your subdivision park because of the fact, but I don't think it would change their feeling if they're playing baseball in ABC Park or Bot Park. So I don't think that's really like going back to even Commissioner Powell, if they're playing in, if Bot Park was a naming rights thing, it's Dick's Sports, they're not gonna make a difference, that's not Renwick, they're still gonna play ball there. I think it just comes down to how you wanna look at the dedication and memorial, or and I'm blanking on.
Well, the thing is, if you want to lose the possibilities of an option of getting revenues on a naming right of a park, and you're taking one of our bigger parks, or biggest parks, and locking in with a certain, person's name, you're just losing that option of future growth. One, way of bringing future growth to the community by locking yourself into a naming right. So that's why I'm saying, why is he pushing this?
He did not push this. This came at a citizen request a couple months ago,
Well, that's why I'm saying, if it comes out to the voters,
and just,
or a voter, it should be brought up into referendum, and, let the people make that decision, not us.
and I do want to express one thing Greg did say in our meeting, just so I let you know, is he's not ungrateful for already having a park named after him. He is very grateful, and if the board decided that we weren't going to rename the park, we're going to leave it where it is or whatnot, he's still grateful that a park in our system is dedicated. It just wasn't his idealistic or first choice park, just simply because of the usage, the amenities at Bot Park. And I'm speaking through my summarization in his meeting with him. The fact that we can't do full, it limits our development at that park because it is floodway plain. And the reason he has more of a tie to, the reason he brought up Renwick Park more of a tie, is because that was not, emphasizing on what Larry said, it wasn't just, here's your developer donation. We had to do, and I'm sure Matt can speak to some of that, a lot more hoops to jump through to put together that entire parcel, because it is like 6 or 7 parcels all tied together, and there was various other hoops to jump to for the development of it, et cetera. So that's why he felt.
Well, at the same time, I think that area is gonna still have more parcels coming that are being available, as you know, up and down the River Road. You know, as things change and so forth, yeah, it'll probably be brought up to the park, you know, to annex into these different lots and properties and so forth. So it's not, you know, it's not like, you know, the person really, you know, was scientifically, you know, putting this park together. It just came together, you know, with the availability at the time, so. But at the same time, you were saying that, you know, he's happy with the
No,
location, but.
I didn't say, wait, I didn't say happy, I said appreciative. I don't wanna,
Well, appreciative, happy, I don't know.
Okay.
Where do you, how do you take that?
I'm just saying, I'm just using the word I said
How does the
appreciative.
person,
However
you know,
you'd like to
okay.
interpret it, I just wanna keep with my word
Okay.
from using what he said.
I know that,
But if they're gonna say he's not happy.
I was gonna say, I know that Larry's familiar with what the Forest Preserve District has done in the past, which is taken perhaps a bigger preserve and named as a certain part of it, like the so-and-so access or something like that. So I don't know if that's an option, I don't even know, but just throw that.
So I guess you're getting 2 different directions.
Like I say, naming a
One-
path, you know,
I
along
know.
in
That's, I
Redwood.
mean, like that kind of a thing, I don't know
Sure.
if that's, I don't know if that's something that we've done in the past, but obviously that's something
Well,
that's a.
we named baseball fields.
Right.
And we've done that. So, and just, if we step back in that, we currently already have Kledzik Field in Renwick Park. We currently have Kiwanis Playground in Renwick Park, so I don't know how, I mean, it all depends.
Well, we got the path, you know, that's gonna be named,
That's Fort Bags,
what is honor.
that's currently Fort Bags.
Well,
So,
Well, asking for, you know, keep asking for more options, you know.
so yes, ask them for some alternates, and then also we'll put it on the agenda and see how it goes with that, and then if it fails, then we can look at the alternates.
However,
Is that going to? We'll do that.
so can I just clarify and make sure so, and what our director will be is, so put it on the agenda as Renwick, but also have alternates for discussion
If it fails.
for failure. So I will go back and speak with Greg, but is that?
That way we can, because this would be the time, if we're gonna do something like this with the 50th
Yes, I
anniversary.
think you're right, Mary, that if tying it into the 50th is a decent idea.
Okay.
So, board initiatives, the one
We
we
have
just discussed, as well as the Distinguished Park and Recreation Agency accreditation application, Village Green parking options, and James Street, and then we just discussed. So next is Commissioner comments. Commissioner Ayers, do you have?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Hurtado?
No comments.
Okay, Commissioner Casmar?
No.
Commissioner Newman? Commissioner Polling?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. I was really pleased to Cheryl and Kathy and Debbie met here, and we're talking about the potential of us tying into the Silver Sneakers program for seniors. I'm going to say seniors because in this case it really is.
It wasn't Silver Sneakers, it was.
It isn't?
It's a different silver program.
I'm sorry, what is it?
It's called Silver and Fit.
Silver and Fit, okay, I'm sorry for that error. But basically, it would be an alternative revenue source in that for participants, insurance would cover part of the factor, and it might possibly give us the potential to expand our programs, but they're looking into it. It's just at the beginning stages of us looking into it, but I think it's a great thing if we could tie into that.
Thank you. Commissioner Stennis?
no comment.
And then for myself, I just want to thank everyone for your sympathies with the passing of Mike. That was unexpected and shocking, so I appreciate everyone's support and sympathies in that So next is executive session, we're still having one, right? Okay. Seeking a motion to go into executive session as permitted under the Open Meetings Act, under 5 ILCS 120-2C5, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular